Hi everyone, I'm Donal Boyle from Crofters Music. I'm here at Production House Studios in Govan with Willie Knox, with Dave Town and Andy Lum. And I've been here for the best part of 2 weeks recording live video with many of the artists who've performed at Crofters Music Bar and Bistro as it was over the years. So we've had an incredibly productive time. We've been shooting video, we've been preparing to put this all online. And I really want to just have a chat with the guys here about this project, because it's been one of the most exciting things that I've been involved in for quite a long time. And there's a lot of connections that have come about through this. It's been very rewarding, it's been very creative, and I just want to set the scene for what's happening here and why it's actually, for me, a really important project. Dave Town, on my left here, is a friend that I've known since, I believe, 1986. I think was the year.
Something like that,
way back. Our respective families moved to the Isle of Arran, and we found ourselves in S3, I think, at Arran High School. Mm-hmm. So Dave and I have known each other a long time, and we've had many shared interests over that time, not least of which was Dave introduced me to sailing, which became a large part of my life and still is. And I was involved in music at that time, traditional music, and I think it's probably fair to say that I gave you something of an introduction to some of what was going on in the folk music scene at the time. So it's very gratifying in many ways to have this collaboration between different companies and ourselves, and I really just want to have a little bit of a chat. I mean, Dave, when we last worked together, as far as I remember, back in 1995, Lorient with the Angels Share, I think it was probably one of the last times that we did actually work together, and our paths kind of naturally diverged. I started having a family and you didn't, and you went on to build your business. So I mean, briefly, just how did you pick up from that, from doing sound engineering at the Lorient Festival, and to where you got to, with your business, because it's been quite phenomenal as far as I can see.
Well, I went and did a course at what was the RSAMD and is now the RCS in stage management, and then went on to build the business after that, specialising initially in trad music, and then probably doing lots of other stuff after that, and then latterly met Willie and Ian and expanded the business further, and now we're doing quite a lot of decent sized festivals and all sorts of jobs, actually.
But I mean, what's fascinated me about your business is just the scale that it got to. It's like the amount of equipment, the scale of the festivals. I mean, that's no easy feat. I mean, in what must be a very competitive market.
It's very competitive, yeah. And I guess we just keep on trying to do it as well as we can,
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Willie, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you this week. Obviously, the first time that we've encountered each other, but it seems that there've been many similarities in some of our business interests, in the past. Where does Dave's work with Black Box? How did you get involved in that, and how does that relate to what's going on here at the studios?
I think my kind of involvement with sound goes back to the sort of 70s and 80s. I set up a sound hire company in Glasgow back in 1984 called Tone Zone, and that was the first kind of serious sound rental company on the west coast of Scotland at the time. Our rivals, perhaps on the east coast, were EFX, who were established some 10 years, I think, ahead of us, and so that's from then till about 1995. Tone Zone existed as a sound rental company, and I then came out of the business. We closed the company because things were becoming very fractured, I think, in the sound industry. A lot of kind of ambulance chasing, as we would see, that a lot of small firms had started up and were diminishing what was a viable industry in Scotland, and so I kind of stepped back and went into hospitality for a while, and came away from sound engineering and tour managing, and stepped back from the industry, went into hospitality.
There's some very interesting overlaps there, because I didn't realise that you had been involved in hospitality. And my first experience of hospitality was taking on Crofters back in March 2014, Fiddlers as it was, as a music bar and bistro. And I was fascinated to discover that you had the Rio Cafe in Partick, and you obviously did for a period of time, and are still merging the whole hospitality vibe with kind of grassroots music and culture. So I mean, how did that play out in the West End of Glasgow? I mean, how was it for you?
It was great. I think the Rio was an interesting thing. I did my first licensed venture in '94, which was the Bar Miro, which was also in the West End, which of Glasgow. And coincidentally, that same year, I coordinated Sound City for Glasgow City Council on Radio 1, and we brought a week of live music on Radio 1 to Glasgow for that. We did over 300 shows in that 1 week there, broadcast live on Radio 1 every night, Monday to Friday. Steve Lamack show during the midweek, and then Johnny Walker at the weekend. And we brought bands like Oasis and Brand New Heavies and Tindersticks to Glasgow during that. And that the key national gigs that were broadcast on Radio 1 took place in Tramway, and we had a series of parallel shows for Scottish artists in King Tut's, which were broadcast on Radio Scotland. So interesting time. That brought the focus back to Glasgow. But that was me into the licensed trade from then for a number of years, to step back from the industry, and then got back into it when we formed Black Box some 6 years ago now. Okay. And I think that the urge to be involved in live music production never leaves you if you've done it.
I completely agree with that. I mean, and obviously you've got a massive amount of experience, and up to and including the Blue Arrow. Yep.
So again, Blue Arrow, a jazz club in Glasgow, which Ian kind of managed to set up while I was away working on some other part of the world, producing a show somewhere. Came back to discover that I had a jazz club. So perhaps the lesson
just what you always wanted.
Yeah, the lesson to be learned from that is don't ever go away from Glasgow. Leave him on his own. So yeah, but that's been a great experience as well. It's been difficult times, obviously, recently for any club in the industry. But again, just another kind of passion, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you've touched on the interesting or difficult times, and it maybe brings us to what we're doing here right now, because clearly you've identified the need to take the passion for your passion for the industry and find another outlet for it. And Dave was over in Arran a couple of months ago and mentioned what was going on. So I mean, how have we got from you having your club and your live music and hospitality to sitting here in the room today? I mean, what's been the driver behind that from your point of view?
I think we had too much time on our hands during lockdown, probably as a result of that. And we had looked at becoming involved with another radio station, and that hadn't worked out. And when we were looking at that, it whetted our appetite, or put an idea into our head that there was perhaps a market gap in the media market for how live music was going ahead, especially in current times, when we were in, already by then in lockdown. The last black box trucks rolled back into the yard in March, and then the industry closed. So that was a considerable gap. And so, like these things often happen, an idea was niggling at the back of your head, and we thought, we could provide a a space we just been in the process with Black Box of moving into our current premises in the basement of these studios, and we decided that we had a bit of a vision for probably a kind of hybrid radio station that worked with an online platform, and that we thought that the way that music was going to go, or that consumption of media was going to go, was away from traditional TV and indeed from traditional radio. And we thought we had a notion of how we could hybrid the visual and the radio and combine the two together, and that's how this kind of came about.
That is really interesting, and I think I completely get it. From my point of view, yes, too much time during lockdown, and that real sense of urgency. So much uncertainty. We were branded as a music bar and bistro. Completely, intricately, inextricably branded together. And what we decided we had to do was to actually separate out those two elements, because there's no way we could commercially present ourselves as being a music bar. So we've taken the restaurant and we've focused on the restaurant as a restaurant, and then with Crofters Music now as a separate entity, doing its thing. And what we felt that we needed was, I'd come up with all sorts of ideas of people coming into Crofters trying to do live shoots in there. I looked at the live streaming option, but to be honest with you, most of what I witnessed was excruciating, especially through Facebook as a platform, and even through YouTube for that matter. And so I was a little bit kind of flummoxed as to, right, I know this is what I need to do, but I don't really know how to do it. And there was actually some serendipity or synchronicity with Dave coming in a couple of months ago and speaking to Alana about, the platform that you've developed, which, I have to say I'm very excited by. But Dave, can you just talk us through what MyPlayer is and how you've gone about setting it up and why it's different to the other options that are available to everybody?
So it's a Scottish media hub is the official term for it, but basically it's you can set up pages and curate your content as you see fit, and you can also fit a paywall, so you can have free content and charged content, or you can have subscription models or vouchers and various other things which are quite difficult to do if you're using the mainstream platforms. It's fairly easy to host video, but to actually monetize it in a way which fairly distributes the money is difficult. And that was where we saw there's a gap in the market, that people were struggling to actually monetize their own creative output.
I think this is one of the key things that I identified early on. It's like very, very competent, highly esteemed artists were just giving it all away. And just in the need to achieve some recognition and to still keep their name, in the marketplace. But and okay, donate buttons and all the rest of it, possibility giving to charity and so on. But I think we have got to a stage now where the pragmatic reality of the situation is that we need money. Promoters need money, venues need money, artists need money, and what I was attracted to is the fact that you'd built a platform that allowed us to properly monetize this without giving chunks of it away to Silicon Valley giants.
Exactly.
And that's what really excites me about what I've seen of what you've done so far. And for me, it's very much part of a grassroots movement, but using technology and getting back to making sure that the people who are doing the creating are actually the ones that are benefiting from it.
In the past, it was okay to give away kind of teaser stuff because you could make your money from the live event, but that live event can't happen now. So the model has to change.
So I think what we're anticipating here is that people are, that there's an appetite for what we have to offer, and that people are now very happy about the idea of paying for things online. But what has really got me about this, and this is what kind of clinched the deal for me, and certainly at the end of this past couple of weeks working with the team, is the quality. It's the same in hospitality. When you do something well, people are happy to pay for it, and you can take pride in what you're doing, and then you've got a product which will actually bring a market. You know, it'll draw a market in, and I feel as though that's been the defining feature of working at the studios here. And Andy, I mean, you've been responsible, been working with you know, for these. We've had 7 artists over about a week and a half, and it's been phenomenal. You know, from our point of view, every single one of the artists have commented how much they've enjoyed it, how great the space is to work in, how good the coffee is. That's another subject, but experience in hospitality obviously plays into that. But no, I mean, you know, we've all enjoyed it. But from your point of view, like doing the audio, and I mean, how's it working for you, and what makes this setup different to other things that are available in the market in Glasgow or beyond?
So we've been working quite hard to like create a system that basically enables artists and musicians and whoever to come in and produce a lot of content in a short amount of time, so it's sort of financially valuable for people. I think if over the past 7 days of recording, I think we're up to about 160 tracks or something like that, maybe even more. So find another studio that can offer you that, and then see how much they charge you, I suppose. But no, it's good. So we've got this kind of system with a sort of live vision mix going on. We've got the audio being recorded in a few different formats, which enables for very quick sort of mixing or mastering and bouncing down. So we're able to kind of minimise the sort of post-production side of it, but still maintain really good high production values, I suppose. And you know, it's been a total steep learning curve for me as well, just sort of figuring out the system, and I'm still definitely on that curve. But I think that from what we've done, I think, you know, we're on to a bit of a winner really, in terms of quality. The balance of quality and quantity is, I think, really good. So that's kind of, for me, what I'm sort of working on and aiming for.
I mean, what's made it really successful from my point of view and from the other artist's point of view is that it's a relaxed atmosphere, relaxed environment. And it's very much an acceptance of the fact that it's just a videoed recording of a live gig. So, you know, we're accepting the fact that there will be little fluffs here and there. You know, there might be a mumbled half a line, you know, there might be a little fluffed chord here and there, which is an honest representation of any artist. I don't care who they are or what their name is, you know, the live gig is the live gig. And I really like the fact that we've been able, it's not like being in a recording studio where the red light's on and you're looking for perfection, and if you don't quite hit a note then you're having to go back and redo it. It's allowed us to have a much more relaxed approach and a much more natural way of performing. So it's almost been like, you know, sitting playing in a living room. Actually, it's begun to feel that way, which has allowed everyone to relax and for it to be, I think, you know, a really musical and creative experience, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's quite important, because one of the things that, like, you try to capture in a recording is the energy and the vibe of the recording, and that's really difficult when you're doing 60 takes of one guitar track or a vocal track or whatever, and you're piecing together this jigsaw to pull out that like little bit of magic or whatever. But when you've got the relaxed live performance feel and everyone feels relaxed and is having a nice time, then you've got that energy all there in the room already and getting captured. So totally.
No, absolutely. And you know, from our point of view, you know, it's been a great success. I think we're all accepting that it's a fluid formula. You know, it is in its nascent stages, but with contributions from everybody and that desire to see it morph and to flex, and you know, we'll reach a formula that you know, I think is really, really solid. And I've really enjoyed the ethos of working with you guys as well, because you know, everyone's out to try and make sure that everyone's got enough and that, you know, the charges are reasonable, and that, you know, it's because we have to get a formula right. You know, so we can't just be nobody can afford to be hard-nosed in any of this, and that I've really appreciated that, because it allows for that flexibility and for that organic growth, if you like, and the confidence that one way or another, we're going to work out a formula that benefits everybody. And that, for me, is what business is all about, and it's one of the reasons that I'm still involved and doing things. And so I really would just like to thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm very much looking forward to coming back. Very, very much looking forward to seeing the finished results on MyPlayer. And and just making it all happen. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.